Welcome to the FlyForm podcast. Today I've got Damien Davis with me from ServiceNow. Welcome, Damien. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your role in ServiceNow and what you do?
Yeah, thanks, Phil. So I'm the Director of Product Management for our ITSM business unit at ServiceNow. I look after our customers and our partners in the EMEA region.
Cool. And ITSM, is that ITSM Pro as well? Does that come under one banner or is that a separate?
ITSM without Pro is not worth talking about.
I agree completely, by the way. So, which is a good fit for some of the stuff we're talking about today. So, the main topic we want to talk about today is machine learning. So, what it is, how it's part of the ServiceNow platform, and also then what actual business benefits people can realize from utilizing, what the underlying machine learning technology gives to it. So, to start us off, do you want to just tell us at a high level what actually is machine learning and how it differs from some of the terms people use like AI and other things that seem to get mangled in today with machine learning?
The trouble is with machine learning, if you Google machine learning, you're going to get a billion results, right?
Okay.
For me, it's about how we interpret machine learning.
Yeah.
And personally, and I think ServiceNow endorsed position is that you're effectively training a machine to do tasks for human beings. Okay. You're using the scientific study of algorithms and data to automate business processes. And if you can train a machine or a piece of software to automate a task or an action, that to me is what machine learning is.
Okay, cool. So essentially the machine is taking large amounts of data, you're giving it an algorithm essentially on what to learn, what to be trained on.
Yeah, effectively.
And it's just crunching through that at a pace that we can't match.
The thing is that you think about supercomputers as well. They're able to process bytes and bytes and bytes of data and millions of bytes per second that our human brains can't process at that rate. Yeah. And ultimately, that's the benefit of machine learning is processing power. Yeah. So you think about large-scale organizations. They've got tons and tons of good data and bad data. But that bad data can be used for good purposes. Okay. And by analysing all of that good and bad data and then providing an output set, we can then automate tasks and actions to make people more efficient.
And how does it tie in with the stuff like the, and I'm not sure if these techs even do align, but the stuff like the natural language processing and stuff, that's not just for voice, right? So is that assigned to kind of the machine learning? So the machine will learn both in terms of very black and white kind of language, but also the language around the edges? Does that come into
Ultimately, you've got this concept of AI, and then there's all these different underlying technologies underneath them, and there's so many acronyms to learn. But you think about AI, artificial intelligence. Yeah. Machine learning could be considered to be an element of AI because you're making a machine do it. Yeah. We talked about natural language, but you could even break that down. There's natural language understanding, understanding how you and I speak. Okay. English, Welsh, we can get a machine to understand us both. But then you've got natural language processing, natural language queries. So you hear all these terms, NLU, NLP, NLQ. And then ultimately, how do we process all of that data and how do we produce these various technologies for good business outcomes?
Okay. And with ServiceNow specifically, they kind of changed the name from Agent Intelligence, now going into Predictive Intelligence. What was behind the kind of name change, and was it just, was it more of a marketing kind of angle, or was there some meaning behind that?
I'm sure marketing had a play in it somewhere. Sure. But at the end of the day, we changed the branding of Agent Intelligence to Predictive Intelligence fairly recently in our New York release. Yeah. And it was more to reflect what the capability does. Okay. Initially, we went to market back in January 2017 with our Kingston release with a classification framework that enabled the machine to automatically categorize and route tasks within the enterprise. Yeah. Think about creating an incident ticket, giving it an incident category, assigning it to the right subject matter expert group. So that was that classification framework. In Madrid, we introduced Similarity Framework. And in New York, we introduced the clustering framework. Okay. So we've got all these different abilities. Now we can do things like predicting major incidents. Yeah. We can recommend content and next best steps. So it became much broader than assisting an agent. So that's why we rebranded it to Predictive Intelligence.
Yeah, I really like the newer stuff with it, as you say, suggesting the content, and you've got all that kind of within the workspace, giving that prompting to, do you think this? Could it be that? Look at this article.
Exactly. If you think about it, I mean, machine learning within ServiceNow, it's a platform-wide capability. Okay. We make it available and reusable across the entire platform. Yeah. But specific to ITSM Pro use cases, think about the agent workspace and about having that panel of agent assist where you've always got that content and information available to the users. Yeah. And agent assist effectively now gives the next best recommended action. So you're empowering and upskilling people to do better work more efficiently.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you also get the obviously human error is always a thing with humans. By having the machine learning and doing this, obviously those errors aren't going to be there. There'll be potentially different errors, but in terms of once it learns something that's rooted in those ways.
The good thing about the rules is, and how you apply it and how you push it to production is, if there are any errors, you just don't expose those to your end user base.
Okay.
Because it's designed to be as good or better than a human. And some of these classifications are never going to be 100% accurate because they're based on real data. But they're not designed to be 100% accurate. What they're designed to do is to be fully automated, quicker than a human, but then we have the ability to limit what we push to production.
Okay.
And I take the use case from auto-categorization, for example. If we were to take a customer's data and we train the machine on their unique data and we use that use case to automatically categorize their incident tickets. If, for example, one of their users was to log a network ticket and the machine says, I'm confident I know that it's category network and it needs to go to the network engineering team. And it knows that it's confident with a degree of confidence based on their data. It might be 75% accurate. What that means is 75% of their network tickets are going to automatically go to the network team. The other 25% that it potentially was prone to human error, you still just have to do manually. And you're just not exposing those human error capabilities or flaws to the end user.
It's a fascinating topic, and it's so scalable, that part though, isn't it, in terms of the volume of every task has to get assigned somewhere and every task needs to be categorized. Purely on a volume perspective alone, you can introduce a massive change to the way that work's getting routed at the end of the day, and the speed at which
particular part of the technology, if you think about how ServiceNow is scaled as a software technology, you could predict any field on any table based on data. And we have go-to-market use cases like category, assignment group, priority. But in your business, you might have fields that are bespoke to your organization or your industry that you might want to be able to predict. And ultimately, that technology gives you that capability. You just need to train the machine to do it.
That's really cool. Is it still about 3 to 6 months or 6 months plus something for training time? Is there a time frame? I know in the past we kind of tell people 3 to 6 in the past, or I have, because I knew there was a lead time, and I'd rather.
It depends on the size of the organization.
Okay.
So our recommendation out of box in our documentation is a minimum of 30,000 records.
Okay, right.
Now for some organizations, 30,000 would be a snippet. I mean, you think about some of the customers that you guys are serving. 30,000 records might be a week. But my personal recommendation, which is a personal one based on experience, is that 3 to 6 months is going to give you a good data spectrum. You're going to get a good, accurate measure of data. And ultimately, more data is good.
I was going to say, there's more records
good and bad records, and it doesn't mean garbage in means garbage out. It means that combination of good and bad data coming in gives us a more accurate picture of the output set.
The more it's got to analyze and check against, the better it gets.
And then you retrain it again, going further down the line. Of course, with clustering in the New York release, we now have unsupervised machine learning.
So what does that do? What does the clustering framework do
so the
at a high level?
clustering framework basically continually groups records with a similar characteristic, which allows you to uncover patterns or hotspots that would otherwise potentially go unnoticed.
So just grouping them together and maybe digging in a bit deeper and going that way with them. That's cool. What about and the unsupervised machine learning? So with the what's the difference with supervised and unsupervised?
So supervised means that you are running a script through a UI, a nice friendly UI where you are training the machine. Unsupervised is continuous learning in the background.
And it's doing it all. So is it learning all the time then? Just
learning all the time on the platform.
That's
native to the platform.
Scary and good.
With no need for any data scientists.
Wow. That's really cool. So are people applying this? Obviously, when I'm thinking of like ticket categorization route, I'm thinking of incident a lot and request. What about change management? Are we seeing much use in the change module yet? So
we have some capabilities coming out in our roadmap in the not too distant future, where we're looking at predicting the likelihood of an incident being caused by change.
That's
so
cool.
We've got a number of use cases, and we're working with our customers and partners through our product advisory councils, through our Lighthouse partnership programs to identify what are those use cases that want to be solved. Because the technology is potentially limitless in its capabilities, but we want to go to market with solutions that are solving real world problems.
Something that's already there, and you've got a real solid case for putting it in, I guess, basically.
Absolutely.
Because I was thinking, it was plowing through my mind just then, because even categorizing changes, and also in terms of how big the impact's going to be, what does that look like? The machine's capable of learning a lot of that, isn't it? And also, I guess, if the similar changes have been done before and they have been outages or haven't been, and all those kind of bits and pieces all kind of come into play. What about outside of ITSM, which I know is in your product area, but are there any cool use cases or stories yet about customers using it, for some custom app or some platform play?
Beyond core ITSM, of course, we have the ITOM space, right? And ITSM and ITOM is a great better together story, because if you get your operations management in place, your service management is going to be much more efficient. And we have made some recent acquisitions. You probably saw the announcement about Loom Systems. Gives us advanced AI ops capability, and being able to predict events before they've happened based on probability. Dave Wright, our Chief Innovation Officer, did a demo as early as 2 years ago where we showed some very early capability in the AI ops space, where you had an event management console and you were able to predict an outage before it even happened based on the likelihood from some events being correlated.
That stuff's really cool.
It was cool. It was scary. And it was fascinating all in one.
So I'm looking through some of the cool features. We've talked about the cool features. Obviously, some of the business benefits that we're seeing here. So obviously, delivering and refining the AI quickly, working fast and smart, we've covered. This bit about efficiency and CSAT. So I guess, is that tying back to the fact that because things are being done quickly to the right place in more time, obviously that's linking then to happier customers and
because customers say to us, okay,
service.
This is a premium product, and they want to know what value they get back for effectively deploying this premium product. And one of the very quick wins is that if you deploy machine learning to auto-categorize and auto-prioritize your incidents, think about an average help desk. How many users have you got on your help desk? And how much time in their day do they spend drilling through drop-down lists, working through categories? And then we play cool ping pong. We all worked for help desk at one point in our IT careers. That's not us. That's engineering. No, it's network. No, it's applications. By getting it to the right resolver group at the right time, you reduce friction between resolver groups. The end user gets their ticket to the right team quickly, which reduces the time to resolve the issue, improves customer satisfaction, and you've reduced the amount of time that your agents are spent categorizing it, so that frees them up to do more meaningful work. So there's definite business benefits right off the bat.
Yeah, and I guess if people have combined the ITSM and the ITOM, AI functionality, they're getting these tickets raised route to the right place, but then the other side of the suite is actually hopefully saying, is honed in on what that error is, what else could be happening, what the fix could be.
Think about the source of these tickets as well. Some are being reported by humans, but some are being reported by the machines through event management. And you look at the percentages that are coming in. So if we're using AI ops and machine learning to even detect those issues in the first place, and then automatically route and categorize them, the human being in the life cycle of that ticket is only doing the last 10, 20% of the life cycle of that ticket.
That's crazy. Won't be long before it's 100%, will it?
There is the common, talk in the marketplace about no ops. I hear some vendors out there. We talked about DevOps. We've talked about AI ops, but there is the concept of no ops, right? Let's see how quickly we get there.
It'd be interesting if the machines can. I know I've read some articles before with machines actually learning to code. So that'll be quite scary if you get to the point where you can kind of tell a machine what you want.
Google writing its own language.
Just writing its own, writing its own code and kicking that out. Awesome. So talking about ServiceNow and innovation, what can we see? What do we expect to see in the Orlando release that's coming out now? And and on the back of that, what is we talked about the 2 releases a year and that kind of stuff. What is that general approach?
Well, so as you know, we launched 2 major releases a year after major cities. Last year was about Madrid and New York. Orlando has just gone to market. The best thing to do is to go to the ServiceNow website and watch the announcement.
Okay, cool.
CJ Desai, our Chief Product Officer, talks about his favourite 4 things from the Orlando release: enhancements to mobile, enhancements to AI ops, some of the cool features that customers can start deriving real value from straight away. And if we look further down the line, we've got the Paris release. That'll be coming out towards Q3 this year, 2020. Okay. Normally at our annual knowledge event, you'd start to see some of the announcements. I could probably dangle a carrot and tease you a little bit. You're going to start seeing some innovation in the workforce optimization space. And we're also dabbling with process mining, process optimization. Again, this is all based on market demand, customer feedback, asking us to solve real world use cases. And those are some of the areas you can expect us to be going to market within.
What does workforce optimization look like? Is that as in...
Think about using machine learning to predict skills and matrix within your organization. A company like FlyForm, you think, okay, I've got 50 employees.
Yeah.
I want to get a quick snapshot of who's got sales skills, who's got pre-sales skills, who's got technical implementation skills, and being able to feed all that in and getting predictions out of that on who can handle a task straight off the bat.
Especially in our size organisation where you can people wearing lots of hats, it'd be nice to know that mix.
And that's exactly it, because a lot of people are under the misconception that we're only tasked with the very large enterprises. But actually, certainly in the UK and Ireland here, this year alone, we believe that 30% of our customer generated revenue is going to come from the commercial space.
Well, we use ServiceNow here, so we run all our projects on it, all our customer deliveries. But we've got a big initiative going this year now, because basically the entire back office, the entire business will run on ServiceNow by the end of the year. So we're excited about pushing that out and seeing what that looks like too. Excellent. So what does around the innovation? I know you guys have obviously got a massive team now in terms of that product development and innovation.
I saw some stats. We've got like 1,500 developers, 150, 200 product managers. Of course, we acquired Digital Telepathy nearly 2 years ago now. On the design side, so there's a lot of focus on design. And in terms of innovation, it's really centered around three key themes. Leveraging all of these AI capabilities, but then how do we present that to users? And ultimately, everyone is using probably one of two things. A mobile device or a workstation like a desktop or a laptop. So with desktop and laptops, you're thinking about the traditional user interface. You've seen a lot of investment in our Seismic portal with Workspace. We had Agent Workspace. We've now got Vendor Workspace, Service Owner Workspace, but then the mobile app as well. And we've got Mobile Agent. We've got the mobile app itself for every employee. We've got the onboarding and offboarding app. In Orlando release, we even introduced the ability for companies to brand their own mobile apps.
I learned that recently. That's
one
cool.
that you all have seen that's publicly available is that Nike, massive sportswear consumer firm, they've got Nike now.
That's crazy.
To me, that advertisement is going to sell itself.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a crazy amount of innovation they do. I talk about it on nearly every podcast. I'm talking about ServiceNow, but for years I was wondering when the kind of the ServiceNow train might slow down. Because you're looking at purely based on the amount of market penetration they did. They've got so much coverage out there.
I can talk a little bit about that as well, because according to Gartner, from last year, we have approximately 51% market share. Now, like I say, these are publicly available figures. So Gartner, being one of the large analysts, they estimate ServiceNow has 51% market share. But that's based on ITSM products and services that were sold last year. But there's so much white space out there. We've done our own analysis with McKinsey, with some other analysts, and worked out the amount of customer base out there that is potentially still to go for. And the common misconception is if you have 51% market share, there's only 49% left. And actually, that's not the case. Like I say, it's 51% of what was sold in total last year. The white space is potentially limitless. Obviously, ITSM is one specific case. But if you look across the entire platform and the entire stack, human resources, facilities, finance, customer service management, security, GRC. I could sell you the whole pizza, right? Obviously, we'll go for the vegan option, but the potential is limitless. It really is.
It's huge.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think for me that was always driven by that innovation, because if they'd stayed, for example, in that ITSM space and also not even just going from ITSM to ITSM Pro in terms of those features that you start bringing in around the advanced analytics, the machine learning, the AI, all those kind of bits and pieces, they just keep, for me, from a competitive space, and it's not to rub other companies' nose in it, but from a competitive space, they just keep annihilating anyone getting close to them. Every time someone kind of brings a new product line out or a revamped version of, like, I came from service desk background, and that was going back, oh my God, more than 15, 20 years ago now. That's quite scary in itself. And a lot back then, everyone was a BMC house. All the enterprises were Remedy houses. I used Remedy a lot for a number of years. And actually, I bought ServiceNow as a client in 2008, 2009, and it was like seeing something from another planet at the time, because it was so.
And that was back then. That's 12 years ago.
It was crazy when they came in.
You think the secret sauce really is the Powder platform? Born in the cloud, native to the cloud, the ease of upgrading. You mentioned BMC, but if you look at some other competitive solutions, particularly those that are on-premise or lots of different patch solutions bolted together, the power of the ServiceNow platform, that CMDB, or that common data model, common service offering, common language, common technology, reusable components. We've talked about machine learning, but think about chatbots, virtual agents. The fact that you can use a virtual agent for ITSM use cases, but the same technology for human resources and for customer service. That's what gives us our competitive advantage.
Yeah.
And of course, there are some point solutions. There are some very clever AI solutions out there.
Yeah.
I don't need to name the competitors,
Sure,
but they are point solutions. And ultimately, what customers are looking to do is reduce their complexity, reduce their technical debt. And by investing in a single platform that has all of that capability native to the platform, I think that's why we're seeing ServiceNow keep going, not slowing down anytime
it's
soon.
accelerating all the time, isn't it? And that innovation just keeps getting faster and better, and they seem to be getting further and further ahead of that curve. And when you talk about point solutions, because there you've got everyone we've worked with has used a point solution, and one particular client I think of did use a point solution for like a chatbot type solution, virtual agent type solution, but then they had to integrate it. So obviously we can integrate easy on our side, but then they have to integrate their side, which was a bit more difficult for them. Then they've got lots of skills, resources required in the organization, whereas by getting this on one platform as well, people can build these teams, they can know ServiceNow really well, and the skills are transferable all the way across the platform then, and build out what they want. So
absolutely,
that investment brings a lot back into it as well, doesn't it? But yeah, so that was always amazing to me a few years ago when it really started to accelerate that innovation and just keeps pushing ahead and going for it. Where do you see it going? Nothing in terms of obviously roadmap stuff, but just in terms of imagination, where will we see these machines in 3 years, 5 years, and that kind of stuff?
I think the best thing we can do is to look at the consumer space.
Okay.
Because ultimately it's guiding us what we need in the workplace. Yeah. If you think about common consumer technologies, I'll pick a few examples. Amazon.
Yeah.
Probably the best service catalog in the world, right? But in the workplace, our service catalog is almost based on an Amazon-like experience. Yeah. The very fact that at home, with a single click, I can get an item delivered to my door the next day, and sometimes the same day, right?
Sometimes in the hour in London, isn't it?
But being able to apply that same use case in the workplace, I need a new laptop, I need a new mobile phone, I need some software. Yeah. Having that same Amazon-style catalog experience. So we look at other consumer technologies. Netflix recommends what films I want to watch. Yeah. We now have Predictive Intelligence recommending what it thinks is the next best action. Yeah. So we look at consumer-grade technologies and how are they starting to filter their way into the workplace, into the enterprise. Clearly, we've got smart automation. We talk about technologies like Siri and Alexa. Yeah. I think we're going to start to see a lot more voice AI technology coming into the workplace. Without giving anything away too much for our own roadmaps, there's clearly a demand for it. Yeah. So it would be silly to rule it out. I think, the ability to ask Alexa or Siri, what's my top 10 issues that I need to deal with in the morning, and have them rattled off to you and then automatically categorized and sent off to or delegated, that would be a great use case.
Crazy way to...
when you rock up at FlyForm HQ and say, Alexa, tell me what my top 10 customer issues are this morning. Yeah. How good would that be to have that automatically what are my key metrics provided for today you without having to write your own integration?
Be beautiful. Why do you think we see this shift in, if we go back 20 years, even maybe a bit more, but, the enterprise was kind of setting the pace. So, advanced tech really was in the workplace. You'd be at home, you had a basic TV and maybe some basic internet connectivity 20 years ago, whatever. But enterprises were using, all this kind of advanced stuff and advanced tooling. And obviously the last 20 years over time, we've just seen that shift really go.
So I've got a very strong view on this. My personal opinion is it all shifted in 2007, the launch of the iPhone. Okay. And you think about smartphone technology today, of course you've got Androids and Apple iPhones, etc. But when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone in June 2007, it was a game changer. Yeah. You had all those apps that you previously had only on an iPod Touch. And you now had access to the internet, you had access to cellular, and you could basically do everything. Yeah. There's more power in that iPhone than the computer that launched the Apollo 11 moon landings, right? I think that's where we saw the shift.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually.
Making that technology available in the consumer space. Yeah. And think about it, consumer demand is much larger than enterprise demand. Yeah. And based on demand, technology had to keep up pace. Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately, that's why we saw that shift now, that consumer-grade technology is leading what we do in the enterprise. Yeah. That's my opinion.
And like you say, there's so many people, isn't it? The market's so big that many people pushing that.
What are we now, 7 billion, 8 billion people on the planet?
Yeah.
At the moment?
It's a big market. And also, I guess, you take out the governance, you take out the cost, because it's on the consumer side, it's on the supplier to maintain whatever infrastructure and do everything else, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And people on our end, we just got
to
we're just literally consumers, isn't it? And
that's why I think we're seeing such a bigger advancement towards cloud.
Yeah.
Historically, some industries, financial services, pharmaceuticals, even federal government spaces have been very reluctant to go to cloud. But even in the last 2 years, we've seen such a massive intake. Even in those highly regulated markets, people are trusting cloud more and they're realizing the benefits of having a cloud solution.
So I don't tell this story very often because I'm still sore. So my first ever implementation of ServiceNow was for a government agency and it never went live. And it was because it was 2009, 2010 going into... And cloud then was like, even when ServiceNow came into pitch to us, people were like, what's SaaS? What's cloud? You know, people didn't know what it was. We worked for a kind of cloud providers. We still only had half an idea. But yes, we did all the work on it. We went through all the security security back then was huge. They never ever got to the point where they signed it off. So it still lives out there. I know it's still around and kicking, but it was a bit of a
disappointing.
It was, we had the
but using it as a learning opportunity and saying, okay, what were the risks? What were the blockers?
Yeah.
And now how have you turned that into wins?
For me, even going through that process because it was such a highly regulated, secure, everything I learned back then, I still apply with clients now. So when I go into, most of the time when the guys have issues here with clients with security constraints and stuff, I'll typically get wheeled in at some point. And half those lessons came from back then because it was so much more detailed. Like I had to learn every bit of it inside out and all, even down to the rules of government, the different accreditations, why and how they were doing these things. So it definitely helped me. Even into the formation of FlyForm, because I ended up forming FlyForm while working on a different secure contract. And the reason I was working on that was because of that experience. So, these things happen for a reason, but
turn them into opportunities.
Definitely, yeah. And even in that organization, I ended up moving to different teams to do more implementation. So it was good fun. These apps.
Well, ServiceNow obviously cares about our employees, our customers, and our partners. Now, clearly, you can't switch on any TV or radio channel without the media telling you about COVID-19 and the coronavirus. And we want to take a leadership stance on this. So we're making some apps freely available. You'll get to read all the press release about what those apps can do. But we're making it easier for customers to report that they have potentially been affected. They can self-quarantine. Again, you'll get all of the gump through our press release. So I just want to make clear that we have some clear communication around that. But where we're taking a leadership stance is by showing that the power of the platform combined with other technologies, and I'll just name a few, but there are so many good technologies that can work in partnership that can enable us to be safer. Encouraging us to be able to be cleaner, to sanitize, but more encouraging remote working. And I think at a time like this, in a time of crisis, the power of the ServiceNow platform combined with other collaborative tools, things like Slack and Teams, where you can collaborate virtually, technologies like Zoom, which we're big fans of. There are other video conferencing technologies available, meaning you don't need to all gather in the same place. There are some great funky tools out there. I learned one recently, I think it's called Miro, where you can have virtual postits on a wall. So you don't even need to be, awesome. It's like digital postits.
Well, we had the team this week. I said to them, guys, how, I know we can run workshops remotely, but what does that look like? How do the post-its look? How does the whiteboard look? How are we going to make this? Because you still want the same experience to be received by our clients.
Of course. And, maintaining relentless customer focus is our absolute priority. The safety and well-being of our employees, our customers, and our partners by encouraging those tools to actually lead, to encourage remote workers. But also, you think about conferences and events. We've obviously got our knowledge conference. We've got our future of work events. There are ServiceNow user groups. There are other industry events, Gartner and many other events. We're starting to see cancellations. Some of them have been confirmed. Some of them we're still waiting and pending announcements. But ultimately, leveraging the power of the ServiceNow platform and those other technologies, we can start delivering digital experiences for customers. And I think that we can actually look at this as an opportunity to see how we can lead and how we can deliver that digital experience for our customers going forwards.
Nice. Sounds good. Well, I look forward to seeing it. Let's just shoot the shit on ITSM. So when you joined ServiceNow, how long ago was that?
I joined in 2011, so I'm coming up for my 9th anniversary.
So what did ITSM look like when you joined? Because I was using it back then, and my memory's a little bit skewed. But
so I came from...
Because I remember a time where there was no change management, I think, out of the box. Was that?
The change was out of box then. So
it was there,
you had core ITIL processes. Okay. You think about incident, problem, and change. They were all available, even back in 2011.
Just very vanilla.
So when I joined, we're actually on the release. It was named June 2011.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Shortly after came winter 2011, and then we went into the cities. Aspen was the first one in early 2012.
Yeah.
But back then, it was a it was a browser-based solution, and you could access all of the service management tools that you can today. Yeah. They were just in a bit more of a clunky format. Yeah. The UI wasn't as clean as it is today, but you could do incident management. The incident form was there. Yeah. Think about all the basic things you would fill in, like caller ID, problem, category, etc., short description. They were there right from the beginning. And because when Fred went to market initially, he had the vision of routing any task across the enterprise, but the market wasn't ready. No. So he focused on ITSM because it was a clear, quick win use case. But incident, problem, change, they were all available back then. We hashed together a customized version of major incident. Okay. Back then we called it the mass outage tool, the MOT. But effectively what you see today is the major incident workbench evolved off the back of that, hashed together major incident.
What blew my mind back then, which is funny now, but was obviously the portal, because it had a portal even back then, which was portal, the ESS portal.
Dashboards, colourful pie charts.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was.
I think being completely transparent, back then, one of the problems we had was it had a lot of capability, but we hadn't scaled as an organization, certainly in terms of our own data center capacity. And actually, customers could buy the software, switch it all on, and it ground to a halt. And we ran so many P1s internally with our customers because ServiceNow back then had a bad name. It was Service Slow or Service
Maybe was what I got called.
Because ultimately we innovated quicker than we could supply. But we quickly learned those lessons. We upgraded our investment in our data centers and our infrastructure. And I would say as early as 2012, we made massive investments in our data center capabilities. And you've seen us now attract very large clients, household names like Disney, the Disney Plus application being built on ServiceNow. But common household names, massive large-scale companies like Nike, another example. We've been able to serve and support these very large customers because of our investments in scaling our capabilities.
Just that maturity, isn't it? I think, like you say, it was a victim of its own success because it was so flexible as a platform. Back in those days, people would ask us, can it do this, can it do that? And the answer was always yes.
Yes, but then you switch it all off.
You end up building anything and everything in there. Whereas these days it's like, yes, but should we do it?
Absolutely. Because there's more guidance. There's more prescriptive guidance from us as a vendor.
Are strong now.
Best practice guidance, which is best practice comes from experience.
Of course.
We've deployed this now to 7,000 enterprise customers. We know what good looks like. Guess what? The data lives in our platform. So we know what good looks like. And that's why we're able to make best practice recommendations. And we can help customers with guided setup within the product, extensive product documentation, a ton of access to tools, resources, webinars, education enablement through partners, certified partners like yourselves, where we can now deliver good best practice to our customers.
There's definitely been a huge shift in the partner mindset. Particularly for me, I can really only focus on maybe the last 5 years, in 5 to 6 years mainly, because we came historically from that time where you would build anything and everything in there in any way that you could build it, and that was kind of okay. I think a lot of it as well was the maturity, not just of the infrastructure, but of the applications themselves, because change may be in there in 2010, 2011, but it was a very immature application, so people are wanting to add more and more to it, and that was kind of allowed.
Let's take change as an example. Look how it's evolved over the last few years.
But that's exactly my point. You don't need to do much to it.
We've had recent innovations like the CAB workbench, which makes it much easier to run a change advisory board. But even taking it beyond that, having change approval policies where you have pre-approved changes based on impact and risk, that you can now deploy changes much faster. You don't slow down your rate of development and your rate of innovation because you can now work in a DevOps world while maintaining the governance that ITIL historically required. So ultimately, minimize impact, minimize risk, and amplify your innovation.
Speed, isn't it? And the DevOps is a great example with the new DevOps app coming out as well, and how they were trying to link that into change and just keep this continuous development cycle going. But all that maturity has meant that you can work in a much better framework.
Absolutely.
And I think the partners learned that lesson as well, because I remember even 3-4 years ago, ServiceNow were kind of coming into us explicitly saying, no more kind of, we're not going to look the other way. If partners are going in, you need to be certified.
Oh, completely.
You need to have this, these types of levels of certification on your projects. We want to look into what you've been doing. You've got obviously the, what was the professional services arm of ServiceNow now becoming the kind of more of the overseer really, and making sure that things are being done to those levels. It was good.
But the problem we had was you either had one of two scenarios. You either had complete governance shutdown,
yeah,
or you had dev cowboys.
Yeah.
And they would literally push stuff to production
exactly
and fix it on the fly. And I say that with no implication to you. But you would literally fix it retrospectively.
Yeah.
And ultimately, we wanted somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
How can we innovate at a rapid pace,
Yeah.
but maintain governance, maintain control, and reduce risk? And applying a DevOps agile framework, with the change approval policies means that we can do that with confidence.
Yeah. No, it's been good. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the journey anyway.
Me too.
Brilliant. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes, I Phil.
Nice.
Tell me, why do you want to come and work at... No, I'm kidding.
I'll join ServiceNow. I won the old share option price from 2010, 2011.
Joking aside, so partners like FlyForm, we're big fans of you guys.
Cool, thank you.
There are a number of service integrators out there,
Yeah.
and we have a great relationship with many of our partners.
Yeah.
You attended our recent partner summit.
Yeah.
There's a great ecosystem, and it's very important for us to be able to scale and reach customers.
Yeah.
That we maintain a strong partner ecosystem with bi-directional trust, so that you as a partner trust us as a vendor, because there are other solutions that you could sell, implement. Sure. But you've put your faith and trust in us as a vendor, the same way we put our trust in you to be certified and deliver the same world-class service that we would to our own customers.
Absolutely.
And I think that mutual trust is very important. But it'd be very interesting to hear your perspective on it, given you've been working with ServiceNow since 2007, 2008.
Yeah. I think even this last event in Poland, like, we're feeling a lot more love in the partner kind of ecosystem, I think, right now, or certainly we are. And what I mean by that is the exec teams, the accessibility of people. Like, we were getting FaceTime with people in the recent event, which we would never have dreamt of getting before, so people are actually taking notice. They're seeing and valuing the investment that we are making and kind of the values we put out there and the things we stand by. And I think that does give you a lot more confidence. It kind of gives you a bit more foresight on what's coming, a bit more, like I said, a bit more of a bi-directional trust and partnership. So, because I think in the past, as with everything, any scaling business, scaling's hard. When you're bringing in lots of people in a short space of time, it's maintaining that culture that can become difficult. And I think even ServiceNow, have gone through ebbs and flows of that culture shifting, and then takes a while to cement in. But we've definitely seen a big culture shift in the recent times as a whole in ServiceNow, and in terms of the approach. A lot more focus, from when John Donahoe joined, especially, and huge drive on customer success for the long term, which has always been a FlyForm value, because we know if customers get unhappy, which we've seen in the past, which is why we formed FlyForm, because we saw a really unhappy customer getting a service we would never have given. Those customers end up unhappy. They feel like they're not getting value for money. The total cost of ownership is high, etc., etc. They're not going to invest more in the platform, or even potentially stay in the long run, So I think seeing that focus coming in from John was huge for me. Me and Aaron were at Barcelona at the time when he came over for the partner summit there. Big focus on that, and I was nudging him, going, "This is what we do. This is what we do." So it's always nice when you kind of get aligned with each other. And I think now that's matured even further into this whole much more focus back on the business outcomes and the value. So rather than just selling the solution, what can those clients expect to get back for their business objectives? So if I am Nike, how do I sell more trainers quickly, or how do I reduce the impact of a website outage on my sales event? Whatever those business challenges are, that's where we like to have the conversation with clients. It's, what are you actually trying to achieve? How is that what pain are we alleviating, or what benefits we bring into your business processes by using tech? And I think that, for me, has started to permeate right down to the sales teams in ServiceNow. So we're getting a lot more of those conversations with the account managers, with the account directors. They're much more focused now on building a business value case for the client, showing how they're going to get that value, but then also working with the partner to make sure we record and demonstrate it. So, in the old days, you'd go in, implementation's done and you're out, whereas now we're trying to take those metrics up front, actually with data. So what does the pain look like today? Okay, let's put the implementation in and then remeasure it. Did we achieve what we set out to achieve? And for me, we have those conversations at the start of the sales cycle, but then all the way through, because again, for us, that means for the client, they can go back to their CFO, or whoever is in charge of that budget, and say, I asked you for this much money. This is what I said I was going to achieve, and I did. And ideally for us, and we also got this other stuff that we didn't put in the paperwork, but these are some fringe benefits we got.
Classic on time, on budget, and here's your benefits.
Here's the benefit. And then they say, so now we'd like to do this. And that's there's a lot less friction in that conversation than when you go into a room where someone's going, well, we spent all our money, I'm not seeing it, where's the mobile app, or where's the process improvement? you're dead in the water then. So it's been really nice for me to see that kind of permeate through ServiceNow, and then that links into us at the end of the day then and pushes us to work in the same way and keeps us in sync. So yeah, it's cool.
Cool. And my next question for you, Phil, is you've been in the ServiceNow game for quite some time.
Yeah.
You've recognised some maturity in ServiceNow as a vendor, as a company. Yeah. You've seen 4 CEOs now. We've had Fred Luddy, Frank Slootman, John Donahoe, and now Bill McDermott. Yeah. How have you seen that leadership evolve in line with the maturity of the company?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I mean, obviously they're all very different characters, aren't they? Fred being obviously the founder and his baby, and Frank being a very, animated, great CEO. And I think they've all fit the right part of that journey.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Fred never wanted to be a CEO.
No.
He's a product guy.
Yeah, he's a visionary, isn't he?
He wanted to build compelling products.
Yeah.
Frank took us public. He was flawless with his execution, rapid go-to-market strategy. Yeah. John gave us purpose and culture and brand and identity.
He did, yeah.
And now Bill, being the enterprise software powerhouse that he is just taking it to a whole new level. Yeah. And I've been lucky enough to live that journey under that stewardship of those leaders. And it's such an exciting place to be.
I think it's huge. They've all done great things at the right time and just kept that, as I said about the train, kept that moving and accelerated the pace of it. I think Bill coming in now is hugely exciting. Coming from his SAP background, and the stuff he knows and the way he does things is hugely exciting. So we're really looking forward to seeing what
highly
comes out.
Encourage your podcast listeners to read his book if you haven't yet. Winner's Dream. Yeah. For me, it was absolutely visionary. Yeah. Again, learning more about Bill as a leader and what he brings to ServiceNow. That book just gives you the whole background story.
I haven't read it yet, but Adam read it straight away and loved it. And especially because he was a sales guy. So obviously Adam being a sales guy, he's like, this guy's a real sales guy through and through, and absolutely loves it.
Without ruining anything, the highlights are, the guy bought a delicatessen at age 15. He literally went and he got a loan while he was in high school, bought a deli. His mother ran it in the day. He was running it in the evenings and weekends. Wow. There's a story about how he landed the job at Xerox, and then literally went to being the #1 sales rep in the country. It's totally motivating, totally inspiring.
Sounds good. I've already ordered it, so I'm a bit of a nightmare for starting multiple books, so I'm very strict now. I've got to finish the one I'm on before I start the next one, but I'll get around to that one.
So when's the Phil Davies book coming out?
Yeah, maybe not too long.
Well, let's not compare apples and oranges. No. But the FlyForm success story is incredible.
Good. Yeah, it's been a fun journey again here, and FlyForm's rocketed. It's scary to think we've only been full time on this for 3 years. And in fact, same as ServiceNow, our pace is accelerating. It's not just moving; it's getting faster.
So here we are at the Capital Tower in Cardiff.
Yeah.
How long till it is the FlyForm Tower?
Not long. Couple of years. We might knock it down and build something a bit newer, I think. But but no, it'll definitely happen. Give it 10 years, and I'm sure we'll be sitting in the tower.
Fabulous.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming in, Damien.
Thanks for having me, Phil. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, you too.